One world currency.
The New World Order.
Those are the roots of trouble.
I imagine that right now you're feeling a bit like Alice, tumbling down the rabbit hole. Let me tell you why you're here. You're here because you know something. What you know you can't explain, but you feel it. You felt it your entire life. That there's something wrong with the world. You don't know what it is, but it's there, like a splinter in your mind, driving you mad. It is this feeling that has brought you to me. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. All I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. No expenditure is questioned, no rumor is printed, no secret is revealed. But I am asking your help in the tremendous task of informing and alerting the American people.
And now, welcome to another episode of Down the Rabbit Hole. Here's your host from federaljack.com. It's Popeye.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another live edition of DTRH here on the Orion Talk Radio Network. Today is February 8th, 2013. It is the Friday edition. And starting next week, I'll be airing the six off-air interviews that I have sitting in a can, pretty much just waiting to get aired now. I've had to take the time to edit each one. I don't think people realize how much time actually goes into doing a pre-recorded interview. It actually takes more time than having the person on live with you. But next week I'm going to start airing some of them, and I just finished the sixth one today, about an hour before I came on air. I got a chance to sit with Professor James Tracy, the FAU professor who was attacked by Anderson Cooper and others for having the gall to question the red flags and the inconsistencies in the Sandy Hook massacre. And I finally got a chance. I wanted to give him some time because he was getting chased by the alternative media and the mainstream. So I wanted to give him a little time. And I interviewed him today, and we ended up doing almost a 3-hour interview. So that's the honestly, when I do off-air interviews, I end up going 2.5, 3, 4 hours. You know how it is. And I end up making them super long, and it just takes me a ton of time to get a chance to edit them up to fit into a radio time. In fact, some of them aren't going to be able to do that. I have to figure out. I'm going to have to do special broadcasts or something. So anyway, I'll get into all that in a minute. But before I get too sidetracked on that, I want to welcome my two friends to the broadcast tonight. I'm doing a roundtable discussion episode tonight. There's a few things I want to throw out there, and I want to get opinions on it. And I wanted to bring on two men whose opinions I respect, both prior military like myself, very well educated in firearms and freedom, and they're both radio show hosts here on the Orion Talk Radio Network. My good friends Joe Joseph of the Freedom Link Radio broadcast and Mr. Ken Hildebrand of the Information Nation. Hello, gentlemen.
Mustard's good on them to me.
That would be so.
Yeah, man. How you doing, buddy? How's it going?
What's up, Sling Blade?
I'm fixing to kill you. Mm-hmm.
You're doing your best government impression? I'm fixing to kill you.
Mm. Fixing to kill you. Got my drones coming. Mm-hmm.
Oh, boy, drones!
And Santa's little helper, Ken. Ken?
Yes, it's soundboard wars on the down the rabbit hole tonight. Yes. Arr.
Well, when you two are on, when the three of us get into a room, it gets a little rowdy. But
can I ask you something? How do we have a roundtable discussion with three people?
No, well, I guess you would call. Oh no. Are you
I know.
It's a triangle table, Joe.
Oh, yes. A pyramid triangle, if you will.
It's a pyramid table. It's a conspiracy. There's three of us for a reason.
Yes. In the spirit of Beyonce, I just wanted to, flash that symbol out. There you go. So there it is.
You know, I didn't even watch the Super Bowl. I haven't even watched the halftime performance. I just assumed.
No, me neither.
I just assumed there'd be some sort of Illuminati thing going on.
There was a picture, and everybody saw it. Here's you doing a little triangle, beep, with her hands. There it is. I don't know. Does she mean anything by it? I don't know.
Probably, but they're all a waste of time. They're all irrelevant anyway.
Exactly.
Just throwing up their gang signs. They're like, look, we're tough. It's like, yeah, grab your crotch and give her the finger and tell her to beat it. That's how you handle that.
That's cool, man.
So, all right, I want to get your opinion, guys.
All right, Ian.
Yeah, and Sling Blade too. I want to pick everybody's mind. I want to pick your brains apart, and I want to get your opinion on L.A. cop going nuts. Because look, we're all, Joe, you're a sailor. I'm a sailor. Ken's a Marine. We're all, in the seagoing service. We've all been around Navy guys. Joe, you're in the Navy. I was in the Coast Guard. Ken, you're in the Marines. Do you guys see any weirdness with this Navy reservist lieutenant? All of you. I like how they said, because they looked up his record and he qualified marksman with a rifle and he qualified expert with a pistol, and they're like, he's an expert with a pistol. You have to be careful. Like somehow he can magically make the pistol do things that nobody else can. It's amazing how the media talks about things they have no clue about. Anyway, I want to get your take on this whole Navy lieutenant going ape and just losing it and killing cops. Now, if you got a gripe with cops and you start taking it on guys in uniform while they're in uniform on patrol or chasing you or whatever, that's one thing. That's already its own entity. But shooting someone's daughter and her fiance, that's low. That's you start targeting families. If you got a gripe with a certain individual or whatever, I'm not saying I condone going after them, but I could at least look at it a little maybe objectively, but I can't look at anything objectively when you start targeting innocent families for no reason at all. So I have no respect at all for any of that. I think the guy, whatever legitimate argument the guy may have, he nullifies it as soon as you start targeting innocent people. And going out and shooting them is really not going to do any good anyway. You're just going to play into their game, and the outcome is only going to come to one ending. This is not going to come out to where the guy gives up on his knees and they walk up and they arrest him. Even if he gave up, they wouldn't. You think they're going to let him go? Do you think they're not going to? You don't think some emotionally charged cop is going to want to squeeze the trigger? I mean, they shoot pregnant women, or they tase pregnant women for not signing tickets, and they shoot women for not rolling down their window fully. So, if you think that they wouldn't whack this dude and he's a cop killer, then I think people would be mistaken. Anyway, I want to start with Ken. You were combat Marine. Combat hard Marine. You in the shit, so to say. You've seen it. You've been there, done it. You were in Nam. Would you say that this stinks at all? Would you say that there's any red flags? And I'm not saying that there is. I just want your unvarnished opinion on this because I haven't gotten a chance to talk to you about this. What do you think? You think this guy just finally snapped? He had it with the corruption in the PD and just went berserko? What do you think?
No, I don't think so. There's something more here than what meets the eye. I mean, there were a lot of times that I had it with the Marine Corps, but, I didn't go off the deep end and start killing people's relatives. It's maybe he did. I mean, I'm not saying he didn't. I'm not saying he did, but something is just not right here. Because why would you go out as an individual and your gripe is with the police department? Why would you go out and start killing people's family members? It just doesn't add up. It's, I don't know, maybe the guy's up on drugs, who in the heck knows, but it was interesting. I watched a little news clip that they had on this afternoon about him. They were giving a little, their normal little speech, and he's up in the woods, and we're going to go. There's about 200 cabins up there that we're going to go and check out, and our people are highly trained. But, you have to remember that this guy was in the military. It almost seems that they're playing this military thing like, be scared of all former military people and all former police officers. Everybody's a terrorist today. Something's just not right. And the problem is, like you said, even if he comes out on his knees, somebody's going to pop him in the head, and it's going to be all over, and they'll say, "Oh yeah, he put up a fight and we shot him. We had to kill him."
Yeah, I don't think there'll be any interviewing of this guy.
Yeah, 16 shots in the chest, and they'll call it the worst case of suicide they've ever seen.
Yeah, or they'll arrest him and he'll hang himself in a cell or something to that effect.
Yeah, something just does. It's like everything else, and I'm not going out on a limb and saying, "Oh yeah, it's a conspiracy. He's MK Ultra," the rest of it. The problem that we have is when you look at this with critical thinking, you start to wonder, what in the hell kind of crap are they feeding the American people?
Have you guys seen his manifesto?
Oh, no. Dude, his manifesto, Ken, this guy, you'll like this. Go ahead, Joe. Tell him. I'll let you tell him. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, on gunsavelives.net, there's a post of a partial post of some of his manifesto. Now, if you read it, folks, what you're going to come to find out is that it's like, wow, look at how they're demonizing the crap out of people who are speaking out against the agenda. That's exactly what they're doing. Like, for example, here's a portion of it. It says, if you have a well-regulated assault weapons ban, this would not happen. The time is now to reinstitute a ban that will save lives. Why does any sportsman need a 30-round magazine for hunting? Why does anyone need a suppressor? Why does anyone need an AR-15 rifle? This is the same small arms weapon system utilized in eradicating Al-Qaeda, Taliban, and every enemy combatant since the Vietnam War. Don't give me that crap that it's not a select fire or full auto rifle like the DoD uses. That's BS, because troops who carry M4s and M16 weapon systems for combat ops outside the wire readily utilize the select fire function when in contact with enemy combatants. The use of select fire probably isn't even 1% in combat. So in essence, the AR-15 semi-automatic rifle is the same as the M4. These don't need to be purchased as easily as walking to your local Walmart or striking the enter key on the keyboard to add to cart. All the firearms utilized in my activities are registered to me and were legally purchased at gun stores and private party transfers. All concealable weapons were also legally registered in my name at police stations and federally licensed firearms dealers. Unfortunately, are you aware that I obtained a Class 3 weapon suppressor with a background check without a background check, completely legally several times? I was able to use a trust account that I created on Quicken, and so on and so forth. It says, and he goes on to say, Senator Feinstein, you're doing the right thing in leading the reinstitution of a national assault weapons ban. It says, in my cache, you'll find several small arms in the cache, Bushmaster firearms, Remington, and AAC silencers. And they go on. He goes on to say, you disrespect the office of POTUS, Presidency and Commander-in-Chief. You call him Kenyan, Mongoloid, African, Muslim. See, do you see what I'm saying? He's getting into this big rant that demonizes people who speak out. And if you go, it doesn't matter what your opinion is. You could be in favor of an assault weapons ban, and more power to you if you are. You're sadly uninformed, and you will lose, but you're free to say it. But this guy here, if you continue on reading this thing, I mean, this is not something that, that you see every day. And
B, that you'll see the mainstream media saying, hey, this guy thinks Senator Dianne Feinstein's assault weapons ban's a good idea.
Yeah, which seems like, but what this speaks to is the instability of veterans. It's just one more thing that they throw out there to show that veterans are a threat. And to them, we are. Because we're well trained in this stuff. We know what to do.
Well, yeah, never mind the fact that this guy, for the reasons that he's going nuts, what does he claim? And of course, they all say, the media and the powers that shouldn't be over there, they're blowing this off like the the chief. And by the way, I want to stress something. He doesn't say all police officers in Southern California in that manifesto.
No.
He only labels certain individuals and in certain areas,
right?
Like the LAPD and other outlying areas in certain areas. But he didn't say all of Southern California. And when the chief of police started going on TV telling police officers it was cops, it was all Southern Californian cops. Well, now you got all these cops riled up, and what happens? They turn around and they open fire on two different sets of innocent people. One was some 70-something-year-old woman with her daughter delivering newspapers, and one was shot in the back, and the other one was shot through the hand. And then the other one was some dude that was driving down the street, and they smashed into his car. I saw the pictures of his truck. You could see where they smashed into it with the police car. It took the whole rear axle. It looks like ripped the rear axle right out. If not the rear axle, at least tore from like the pumpkin back, sideways. You can't even see the rear wheel assembly or anything. So it looks like it was just torn completely off, and it's just sitting there in the middle of the road sideways. And that's okay. And they shot that up too. Now, luckily, they didn't hit the second guy, but that's okay. Well, it's understandable. They're looking for an escaped cop killer, Popeye. No, that's no excuse. That's no damn excuse. The first rule of any type of firearm safety is beware of your target. Know your target. So that you don't know who's in that truck. Well, we assume it's the guy. The truck looks something like it. And other officers have gotten shot at. Well, look, I know people constantly say, oh, police, their lives are in danger. Guess what? Okay? This is what you guys train for. This is what you signed up for. You all want those tanks and you want the cool riot gear and all that other stuff. Well, this is the kind of crap that you train for, right? So don't go out there and start randomly shooting people up and say, well, it's justifiable or this. No, none of this is justifiable. All those officers that fired on those innocent people should be brought up on charges. And if they're not, there should be hell to pay for the people that don't bring them up on charges. I don't want to hear any excuses. Because if this were a civilian, if this were the same situation, but everybody were civilians, they weren't cops, everybody that was involved would be charged. Everyone. That badge does not protect them. I'm not being unmerciful either. I feel bad for the innocent two guys that were just sitting in the patrol car and one of them's dead. Who knows if he was a bad cop, good cop? Because there are good cops out there. So I feel for the family. The guy, they weren't even involved in looking for this dude. He just randomly ambushed him. Cowardly act, whatever. I'm not justifying what he did, okay, by any means. But that doesn't justify randomly shooting civilians either, okay? I don't care. Ken, you were a door gunner on a helicopter. Beware of your target, right?
That's one of the things that I complained about with the testimony that Gabby Giffords' husband gave before the Senate. And the guy that came out of Walgreens with his gun and said that he came very close to shooting the wrong guy. But he did exactly what a well-trained concealed carry person should do with a gun, or anybody with a gun. And it's exactly what you said. Know your target. Don't pull the trigger if you're not sure you're going to hit your target. And he didn't. So that was somebody acting, a responsible gun owner acting responsibly, and they tried to demonize this guy by saying, "Oh, we almost had another tragedy. He almost killed an innocent bystander." I'm sorry, that doesn't work. And as far as I'm concerned, I want a rocket launcher.
Why stop there? I want a Davy Crockett,
like the NYPD.
Yeah, because, they're going to put 30,000 drones in the air, and I thought that's going to be better than Angry Birds. We can shoot down angry drones.
Yeah, I'd like to have a Davy Crockett myself. I mean, nothing like a shoulder-fired nuke.
Well, if you really want to get down to it.
Don't worry. Joe's going to be getting a knock on the door about 6 o'clock in the morning.
Hey, if they can have one, why can't I?
What's that thing that they got on board ship there? That thing that shoots like a bazillion rounds a second?
Oh, the Sea Whiz.
Oh, the Sea Whiz.
Yeah, can I have one of those and put it on top of my house?
Dude, I take that just as a modified bush hog. I mean, could you imagine how much land you could clear with that thing?
You know what's even cooler now? Have you heard of the what the hell is it called? A metal storm. I'll find the audio for you, dude. This thing literally, it's like 20,000 rounds in like one burst. It's like, and it's like 20,000 rounds. I'll have to look at it. You'll hear it's disgusting. and it's all electronic. There's no gunpowder. They're electronic. It's all done by electronic. I forget exactly the details of it, but it's not like a standard firearm. They call it Metal Storm.
If it's electronic, I don't want it because Google and they're that they won't shoot right. It'll kill my neighbors.
Well, it's made for the military, so I don't think it really has to shoot straight. I think mowing down tons of innocent people is actually better in what the New World Order wants anyway.
We used to do that with the 50s. We used to clear acreage when the Seabees couldn't get there fast enough, and we'd drop in and they'd say, hey, we could use a kill zone over there. Not a problem. Just stand back and watch the trees fall.
That's what this thing is, dude.
People be surprised what a 50 cal will do.
I'll just take a harp, please. Can I have a harp?
I'm waiting. You want to know, honestly?
Want that harp with your wings? I mean,
you want to know?
Yes. I'm
waiting for the first person to shoot a drone out of the sky, and that's one of the reasons I think that a lot of these counties, cities, and different state senators and stuff and congressmen are getting uppity about the drones now. I'm sure it has something to do with people getting pissed about their freedoms too. But
let me bring this up too. A lot of these drones are sometimes autonomous, GPS driven. You can buy a GPS jammer on the internet. Just buy a GPS jammer, hook it up to an amplifier. Kaploom! Uh-oh.
I'm just waiting for somebody to start making like microwave guns and stuff like you see in video games. Because, see, first in the video games came the drones like you see now. And then the way to take the drones out was you get that special attachment for your gun and you could focus on the, on the drone or the camera and it would fry it and it would fall out of the sky or whatever. Well, that's coming next.
Well, hey, if the Iranians can do it, why can't we? They can steal our drones and knock them down, right? If they can do it, why can't we do it?
Enemies hacking drones and then using the data and the drones against us. Where have I seen this before? Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
The newest Call of Duty video game.
Get you some.
I thought I saw this strange plot somewhere. All right, guys, we got the bottom of the hour break sneaking up behind us here. Ladies and gentlemen, don't go anywhere. When we get back, we're going to finish up with the LAPD shooter manhunt, and I want to get into a few other topics with my two guests tonight, Mr. Joe Joseph and Ken Hildebrand. We'll be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back, and I want to get back into the LAPD cop killer manhunt. Now,
all right, Dan.
Yes, thank you, Sling Blade. We're going to get your opinion as well, so don't worry. You just hang tight. I want to play this clip really quick. This is what we were talking about earlier before we went to break, when I was telling you guys about the innocent people getting shot. Here's one of the local ABC News reports, and of course it's a little bit slanted, right off the bat. They start off with, perhaps it had something to do with the manhunt. Really? Perhaps? Right? They light up two trucks and they say it was because of the manhunt, and you say perhaps, but okay. Anyway, you know how the mainstream media is. So it's a local ABC affiliate. It's probably at least one of the more honest reports anyway. But listen to I want you guys, I'll have you guys comment on it afterwards, but just listen to how slanted it is.
Well, the huge manhunt may have led to not one, but two police shootings in...
May have. Okay, how about the huge manhunt did? But no, I digress.
Torrance. Innocent people were hurt in that case. We're still awaiting the news conference in Riverside, so we want to go to Eyewitness News reporter John Gregory. He joins us live at one of the shooting locations with a live report. John.
And Philip, we're here in Torrance where a very large investigation still underway, an officer-involved shooting investigation, all focused on that blue truck behind me down the road there, a truck that is riddled with bullets. Police now confirming LAPD units were here in the neighborhood overnight, here to protect a fellow officer that they feared was going to be targeted by Dorner, and it was those officers who opened fire. Chief Charlie Beck now confirming this was a terrible mistake. The shots rang out around 5 in the morning, dozens of rounds aimed at this blue Toyota pickup truck, a barrage of bullets that shook residents from their sleep.
Just a lot of rapid fire, I don't know. It's just, my wife even heard more of it. I heard, some too. I mean, She said that she heard about 50 shots.
2 women inside the truck were hit and rushed to local hospitals. Police say they're going to be okay. Residents say the women delivered newspapers here. While the shooting occurred in Torrance, the LAPD is handling the case. Officers here in connection with the search for Christopher Dorner, who was last seen driving a pickup truck, are the ones who opened fire.
The LAPD officers assigned observed a vehicle matching the suspect's vehicle driving down the street with the lights turned out. Officers approached the vehicle and an officer-involved shooting occurred. Tragically, we believe that this was a case of mistaken identity by the officers.
Around the same time in the morning and just a few blocks from the LAPD investigation, Torrance police were also involved in an officer-involved shooting. Here, too, the target was a pickup truck, this time a Honda. No one was hurt in the shooting, and no word at this time what prompted it. Both incidents have left the community rattled.
Well, these things just happen. All we can do is keep our doors locked and stay aware.
Residents.
That's a single named Torrance resident. These things just happen. It's what happens. You just got a gunfire and stuff in the neighborhood.
Are on edge, so are police, and as long as Christopher Dorner remains on the run, those tensions will remain high.
So, no lambasting them for shooting innocent people. No comments on it, except the chief actually admitting responsibility, so that opens them up for lawsuits. But no, really, not even an apology. I didn't hear the chief of police say, well, we apologize for firing on innocent people. Our officers should have had a better identity on their target. They should have known better. They should have waited. They shouldn't have succumbed to fear. If they were not sure of an imminent threat, they should have made sure that it was him. I mean, there's numerous things he could have said, right? It's very slanted. I mean, they report the facts pretty clearly, but you see how they let them off very easy, kind of like a little slap on the wrist, like, oh, bad cops, you accidentally shot innocent people. Now, if that was anybody else, they'd be in jail for attempted murder, assault, firearm discharge, 18, 20 different charges per person, right? Per victim. But because these cops, or these guys are cops, they're going to get away with it. And by the way, this is what I was talking about before when I said that the chief was telling them it's all Southern California cops and he got people amped up. Don't you think that guy's somewhat responsible for that? Just maybe slightly, in the least bit, just a little bit, because you used fear and you amped up the fear, and look what happened because of it. What say you guys? Ken, you first.
Well, what I think is funny is I saw the pictures earlier. The two trucks that they shot up, one was black and one was blue. What color truck is this guy driving? Maybe they should take paint chips into the morning briefing and go, this is yellow, this is blue, this is black. Don't shoot the black or the blue one. Shoot the yellow one. It just goes to show you that they want to take guns away from law-abiding citizens who don't go out and do this stuff. And you got police out there that are out of control. I mean, it's like you said earlier. You guys signed up for this. You guys decided that, hey, I want to be a cop. I want to walk around with a badge and a gun, and I want to tell people what to do. And as soon as something comes up, pull out the gun, start unloading on innocent people. It's disgusting.
It's dangerous, too. I mean, what happens if there were children in those cars? Well, that's the risk. Well, I would love to hear what's the justification? That's the risk that people take for delivering newspapers early in the...
Really?
If there were children in the car, I'll tell you right now, Sandy Hook was a disaster. They would have been collateral damage.
Yeah, well put, Joe.
Or policy.
The use of deadly force is so... there's really clear-cut ways and definitions of when you should and shouldn't use deadly force. And I'm sorry, if you've got innocent children in a situation like that, you got to be very careful about how you do. I don't know, buddy.
They're in a residential neighborhood, and they just open fire.
And they just open fire. I mean, you have to, there's something called like risk assessment. And am I going to cause more damage by doing this? But collateral damage at that,
Is this what they say, like armed citizens like yourself or Ken or me or whoever else, say we were armed and we're walking down the street and we witness a robbery at gunpoint or a murder or something and we pull out our guns. Don't they always say, oh, you guys would, shoot and kill and hit innocent people and just randomly fire? But that's not so, as Ken has rightfully shown, and there's multiple cases of this where, in Clackamas Mall, perfect example. The guy pulled his gun out and he said, I got tunnel vision and I got the guy's head in my sight and I was about to squeeze the trigger and I saw movement behind him and I realized that there were people in the store that were behind him, like beyond where he was standing. And if I missed him, the round would go into the store and possibly hit somebody. So he chose not to squeeze the trigger. Now, he didn't take his aim. He didn't drop his aim from the target. He didn't did not move. He moved his position later on, but he didn't remove his eye off the target. And he kept the gun visible and he kept on target, and let the guy know that he was there and that he had a gun. But he didn't shoot because he didn't have a clear shot. It's the only reason the guy didn't shoot. And you know what? I stand behind that guy 110%. Because you know what? He totally destroys their argument. And then what really sends their argument to the bottom of the ocean is what these officers did. Because you have the powers that shouldn't be, these politicians, these innocent civilians are going to kill innocent people. Only trained people like the military and the police should have access to weapons. Really? Okay, well, one of these guys is both. He's a vet and he's a cop. And he's got police training, right? And the police pissed him off. And they made the monster. You guys made this creation, this beast, right? Whatever you want to call him. You guys created the monster that you're now running around hunting. And I don't see it's funny. What I don't see is the media playing upon this to push gun control. I wonder why. Because anybody with half a brain would look into this and realize the same conclusion that I just came to. So they're not going to push it. Why are they not pushing the fact that this guy is screaming about LAPD police corruption? And again, he kind of effed himself because you instantly, first of all, opening fire on anybody is not going to really help your case. But killing the family of anyone, doesn't matter who you target the family, you instantly nullify any valid point you may have had. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. You nullify it. So now you have this case with this dude, and then you have the cops who are in uniform, who we're being told are here for our protection and should be the only ones with weapons, are now lighting up a residential street. Did I see any concealed weapons holders running out into the street like John Wayne lighting up the street? Or did I see people in uniform with semi-automatic rifles? Some, maybe they even had fully automatic, who knows, lighting up the street. Now, how does that bolster your push for gun control? Oh, it doesn't. So that makes a lot of sense why nobody's bringing this up right now. Now I get it. And of course, I'm being sarcastic. I didn't think that they would. As soon as I saw the details of this case, I was like, I wonder if they're even going to talk about this. And of course, they have to talk about it to a certain extent. But the gun control aspect, how are they going to push it? Ban cops from having guns? Right? What are they going to say?
Works for me.
Yeah, it works for me too.
So then I guess we should push it. I guess cops should, right now, cops shouldn't be allowed to have firearms. In fact, cops shouldn't allowed to be arresting people because apparently an incident during an arrest is what sparked this whole bloody rampage. So do you see what could happen? Arrests can lead to mass shootings. So we have to ban arrests.
Well,
and
the
LAPD.
We're the biggest slave prison system in the world.
So the ban LAPD and arrests.
People they often criticize China for having their slave labor camps. But what the heck's the difference between that and our prison system with all these people being put into the Huskow for petty, drug crimes and stuff like that? You know what I mean? Yeah, we are the biggest freaking prison slave state in the world, and people don't even realize it. And this all plays into it. But yeah, you know what? We should just ban arrests too. That'd be good. But they'll never let it happen. They make too much money on it.
Of course, but obviously, I mean, if you think with their logic, right, arrests led to this, so we need to ban arrests. And we need to ban the LAPD and police brutality, because police brutality during the arrest, again, led to this. So we have to ban arrests, police brutality, the LAPD. Wow. Big list. Anything else? Forks, spoons, pencils?
Yes, because it is the spoon that makes the person fat.
It's the assault. I guess, what would you call this guy, an assault cop?
I guess so. I'd call him rather insane. Outside of that, I don't know. I mean, and you don't know. I mean, you don't know what the real story is behind this guy. You don't know what it just. I don't know. There's just too much iffy things that I read in that whole diatribe that he put out that make me wonder, if this isn't some sort of, like a guy being programmed to do something, that he just, or did he just snap? You don't really know, because there's so many things that muddy the water now these days and muddy the narrative. They take advantage of so many incidents and blow things out of proportion, misrepresent, the irresponsibility of the mainstream media and the fact that they operate with an agenda that totally takes the news and just, craps upon it. All I'm saying is that we don't even know the real truth. All we know is what's put out there. But you can't trust anything anymore. You don't know what the hell, who's putting it out, what their agenda is and everything else. So I don't know what to think of all this stuff right now. I do know is that they'll take advantage of it any way that they possibly can.
I don't know. I don't generally think that this thing is staged or anything like that. They actually look scared. Those cops that are running around out there in the full uniforms and they got their guns up like that. When you see them dressed like that to the full nines, I know from training I've had. Ken, when you dress to protect yourself like that, that's really when you're being offensive like that. That's more based out of fear than anything else. Now, the three of us can agree on that. Being older and wiser now than we were in our younger years, we can agree that reactions like that are based on fear. So those dudes look really scared. Those cops really look like they're scared. I mean, their actions, randomly opening fire down the street and stuff. I said to my father, I said, that's like something you'd see at a checkpoint in Iraq. I said, these guys are pissing in their pants afraid. And I'm not making fun of them. But that shows that, A, their leadership sucks, because their leadership shouldn't be scaring the crap out of them. Their leadership should be instilling courage in these guys and trying to help them control their fear. And he should be addressing the subject of fear with them and tell them, look, you're going to feel fear, you're going to do this, but you need to control it. You don't want to be shooting at innocent people and stuff. This is a conversation he should have had before any of these incidents happened. I understand that you guys lost police officers and stuff, but the people in charge are supposed to be able to handle this kind of stuff. That's why you're in charge, right? Right? Am I wrong, Ken? You're a Marine, right? If you guys are under fire and you say there's four of you and you guys are in a rifle squad and one of your guys gets hit and he gets killed, are you supposed to instantly turn into a whimpering pile of dog crap and start crying your eyes out? Oh my God! Blah, blah, blah. Are you supposed to return fire and kill the guy that did it and then worry about and make sure you get your friend's body back, but worry about dealing with it later? I mean, do you know what I mean? Do you instantly, is that how you react? You instantly turn into just spastic and you don't think? Do you think Marine commanders act like that under fire? I don't think so. Ken, you've been in Vietnam under fire. What say you?
Well, I'll tell you, when you're under fire like that, and a friend of yours or anybody gets killed, it tends to piss you off. That becomes your first reaction is anger, and you don't really worry about yourself that much. You're going after the guy that did the shooting. These guys here, for supposedly being so well trained, I think California's got a problem. Maybe they've been eating too much sushi at the ball game or whatever they call that stuff, raw fish.
Well, honestly, they got them amped up just like they got the. To me, this actually did kind of remind me of what the modern day, I guess, military would do, like in Iraq when they were in occupied Iraq at a checkpoint. And again, why would you have Marines and soldiers firing upon people in cars and it would end up being civilians? There are sadistic people, but let's be honest, most of them didn't do that on purpose. They were scared. They're 18, 19-year-old kids scared shitless in a foreign country. They really don't want to be there. They thought it was cool at first, but when they got there, they realized, this isn't cool. I don't want to be here.
The whole thing is you get over there, and then all of a sudden people are getting shot at. Your buddy's laying there with his brains all over the ground, and you're going, I can't push reset? I could do it in Call of Duty. What do you mean I can't press reset?
Well, that's why you have such a high rate of suicide now, because suddenly the reality of life is setting in and it comes crashing in. I think a lot of times it comes crashing in for these younger guys too much, man. And that's because they haven't been set up throughout their younger years growing up between their parents and their teachers and their whoever their elders were guiding them. They didn't prepare them for life. I'm not saying that you can be stone cold, watch your friend get shot in the face and be like, doesn't make me pissed. You know what I mean? But you're right. A lot of these kids, they join the military because they've played Call of Duty, number 18 or 19, whatever the frig they're on now, and they've run around and they shoot their friend in the face for 4 or 5 hours a day for 6-7 months straight on each game, and how many different versions of the game are out there. So for a few years now, they've been running around shooting their friends in the face. Now they get out into the real world and their friend gets shot, and it's not fun anymore. And or they light up a civilian's car and kill a bunch of innocent people. And believe it or not, these people that do join the military do have souls, and most people, there are some bad eggs. I've exposed a lot of those, but there are I would say at least 75% of maybe 70% at least have, they lose sleep over the things like that. I would say even more, judging from the amount of suicides. And then they come back home and they realize life is completely different, or they blow their brains out, or they, in some cases, they don't even get a chance to go to combat. They just realize what's going on, and they realize the reality of things, and they realize they've now signed a contract for 4 or 6 years, and it gets so depressing because military installations, let's be honest, you guys know, they're not like the most joyous, happy places in the world. It's not like they paint them in bright, colors and run around with beach balls and, Bacardi. It's maybe in some of the Caribbean bases, depending on where you go, but it's not conducive to good mental health. So then these people are even killing themselves that haven't been deployed. I mean, we need to get to the root of what creates issues like this guy running around killing people, and then the cops being so amped up on fear that they open fire down an innocent street, are in a residential street and could possibly hit innocent people, and they did hit innocent people. We need to get to the root cause of all of this. One of the roots is fear.
I'll tell you one thing. If you want to see young people committing suicide, and I hate to be a prognosticator of doom, but the way they are treating the kids today in school, oh, you made a gun out of your finger, you're suspended. Oh, you've got a gun on your computer, you're suspended. Oh, you went boom, you're suspended. Wait till the real crap hits the fan. And these kids are in the military. They're going to come back and they're going to blow their brains out, and it's going to be worse than what they got now because they are sissifying the kids today.
Did Brooks tell you what they're doing in boot camp? He blew my mind when he told me this the first time. They're handing out, and I had heard about this, but this was like confirmation of it. They give out stress cards, so when the drill instructor stresses them out too much, they can hold up the stress card and be like, "You're stressing me out."
Oh yeah.
You think you can do that when you're under fire?
You think you could do that in Marine Corps?
You know what? To be honest with you, they've really sissified all 5 branches, man. They really have. The soccer moms. I mean, I'm not defending what they do to people, but if you're going to join the military, the reason that they do train you is to. I have to say one thing: the training they do give you will keep you alive under fire. So
that's the thing that people don't understand with this. The kid goes into boot camp, finds out he can't handle it. I can't take this no more, mommy, help me.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back with hour number 2 here on tonight's live edition of Down the Rabbit Hole. I am your host, Popeye from FederalJack.com, and I'm joined tonight by my 2 good friends and fellow radio show hosts here on the Orion Talk Radio Network, Mr. Joe Joseph from the Freedom Link Radio broadcast. And
I'm your boy.
There he is with his good partner, Sling Blade, and my good friend, Mr. Ken Hildebrand from the Information Nation. Ken.
Yes.
Welcome back, boys, for hour number 2. I want to wrap up with the LAPD manhunt thing because there's a few other things I want to cover and get your opinions on. Basically, this thing serves as, at least to me, it serves as an example that, one, obviously, police are not superheroes that should be the only ones that have access to I can't say the word access to firearms, because if they're just as fallible as anybody else, which you can see by the mistaken identity shootings. Okay, that shoots down this infallibility of them. So they're human just like the rest of us. So that should get rid of the argument that they're special and that they wouldn't randomly light up a street somewhere in the middle of neighborhood whatever, but that the concealed weapons holder or the legal gun owner would. Well, now you can see that this is actually the exact opposite of that case. So that serves as that. This serves as a lesson to what can happen when we push out fear and feed fear. And it's not just them being afraid of this guy because of the situation. Cops are already amped up constantly and fed fear. And then now they just put the icing on the cake with this and telling them, oh, he's going to kill all you. And then he is ambushing cops. So between the news media hyping it, piss poor management of the situation, and then this guy actually going out and following through with what he said he was going to do, it creates the perfect storm for just crap, or a perfect storm of crap, and creates a very bad situation where now you have innocent people getting shot at. So again, fear is one of the biggest problems. So people need to take a step back, breathe in, I know I'm not saying it's easy, trust me. I'm not. But again, you guys also signed up for the job, so that should be already ingrained in you with all your training that this is part of the job, and you have to be able to, fear is going to be there. It's mastering it and moving forward with it. Ken, you know that. You were in a helicopter flying around above the jungles of Nam, so getting shot at. You know better than anyone. So moving on from this whole fiasco, I want to, because I don't want to give the guy, another hour of time. We went over it. The guy's not that important. I don't think he's a rock star or anything. I don't want to give him too much time and make him famous more than he already is, or at least contribute to that. So I want to get your opinions on a few other things, starting off with poor Ken, because he lives in the state of Illinois, and he lives, I know you don't live in Chicago, but you live in the same state as Chicago, so you could give me and Joe a better opinion, and the listeners a better opinion on this than, maybe one of us could. Chicago police stop immediate responses to burglaries and thefts. But wait a minute, I thought that you guys gave up your guns because the cops were always there to protect you. So what happens now when you walk in on a burglary in progress and you don't have a gun?
That's their problem. Break into this house, 2 in the chest, and I called the coroner. I don't call the cops.
That's right.
Good man. Good man.
That's right.
Center body mass. I'll tell you that right now. The city of Chicago doesn't know what the hell to do, because you've got all of these idiots running around this state between Rahm Emanuel in Chicago and that meathead that we have down in Springfield, the mighty Quinn, our governor. They don't know what to do because guns scare them. The problem being is you get some gangbangers, and they're always talking about the gangbangers. Well, they drive down the street and they shoot up the neighborhood. Well, let me ask. I would love to put it to Rahm Emanuel and Governor Quinn this way. Guys are going down the street and they're going to shoot up the neighborhood. So they make the turn on the corner, they stick the gun out the window, they start to shoot. They got to make it to the end of the block, and you got 25 concealed carry holders. Do you think they're going to make the end of the block? People at the end of the block are going to be pissed because they're not going to be able to get any shots off, because they're going to be dead about halfway down the street. And you get 2 or 3 of those incidences, and guess what? Your drive-by shootings are going to stop, and it's going to save kids in those neighborhoods. Concealed carry is the answer to the problems that some of the problems that they have with crime in the city of Chicago. But the problem being is they always look at these idiots want to build this gigantic crisis and stop people from exercising their God-given rights, which is self-defense. These people are, they are some... Quinn turned around and raised the hell out of taxes in this state, and everybody told him, don't do it because businesses and people are going to leave. Oh, no, they won't. And he raised them anyhow. And guess what? People and businesses are leaving this state because the taxes are the highest in the nation. So when you've got, and he didn't say, well, we're going to cut back on taxes. No, they're leave them where they're at. They don't seem to understand that people, you can't keep taking from the people. And people are starting to get pissed off about it. Chicago, I don't know what to say about that. If I need a cop, I don't call the police department. I call the donut shop. And I tell them very plainly, you guys better get the hell out of there because we're coming in, we're going to shoot up the donut shop. And they call the police station and all the cops show up. In the meantime, I drive over to the donut shop and say, hey, there's a crime going on over there. I'm going to give you an example. And you're gonna find this extremely funny. This happened a number of years ago. I was living in another town, and the bank got robbed right next to the donut shop with 4 squad cars sitting in it. You tell me how much you trust the police department. These guys walked into the bank and held up the bank while you had 4 squad cars sitting right next door in the parking lot of the donut shop with the police inside the donut shop having coffee and donuts. So I am not kidding you. This is what happens in the state of Illinois. And guess what? You've got a president who came from the corrupt state of Illinois, and you're welcome to him.
Why does that not surprise me that a bank got robbed next door to a donut shop with 4 squad cars parked and a bunch of police officers inside?
You could probably rob the police station evidence locker and get away with it.
Well, they do already.
Yeah, well, I know the police do, but I'm saying you could probably just walk in and do it.
Oh, you mean as a civilian?
Yeah, why not? I mean, hell, if a bank robbery can occur right next door to a donut shop where they're dining on the donut place's wares. That's unbelievable, dude. It's funny, but I think about the same thing when
try robbing that donut shop, though.
Well, no, I mean the lack of response from our civil servants, our public servants, when they're needed most, is astounding. Like how many times have you seen a broken down vehicle on the side of the road, and the state trooper just blow right by them like nothing?
Yeah, well, I know one police officer, or I know of one, I should say. I don't know him, but I know of one police officer that, let's just say he shouldn't have done that to a tattoo artist I know. And the guy was designing a tattoo for him. And he had, the tattoo artist had an accident, and this was a long time ago, but he had an accident, and somebody had rear-ended him, and the guy didn't have insurance and everything, and he called the cops. He's waiting to make a report. And while he was waiting, he saw this cop that he knew who was on duty drive by like 3 times in his car, and the cop kind of like put his hand up, so oh, I don't see you, and he kept driving by, and he kept calling, and he said, look, I just saw, Officer so-and-so drive by a few times, still nothing, guy never showed up. Eventually the other person took off, and he was pissed, so he's like, all right. So, because it cost him now it cost him cash out of his pocket to fix the thing. Regardless, he didn't even have a report. So he was pissed. So he's like, all right, the cops aren't even going to show up. No problem. So about a month later, the guy comes in to get his tattoo, and he hasn't said nothing. And he inserted little dicks and balls all throughout the tattoo. Different shapes, different sizes, different positions, just all over the place. Little silhouettes of them hidden inside the tattoo, all over it. And to this day, this officer has, we'll say, a large tattoo filled with dicks and balls all over him, permanently tattooed on him. So you should really think about the repercussions of your actions when you piss someone off. And I'm not saying that as a threat. Everything has a reaction, and that's the kind of stuff that happens, you know. And to back that up, this, as an example, South Florida cops just got caught doing it again. Did you guys see the quote-unquote Kendall squad that they had down here? Or one of the squads in Kendall. They called it the Kendall squad, but Kendall is a section of Southwest Miami-Dade. It's like a city. And they had it's the county police patrol it. And these guys were assigned to that section. And you have this group of cops, whatever, and it was like a sergeant and then a couple lower ranking officers below her, but their supervisor was involved. They were like shopping when they were supposed to be when they're on duty. They're supposed to be going to calls. They're shopping. She was at Target or something. These guys, there's film of them sitting with her drinking coffee while there's some emergency call going on they're supposed to be going to, because IA was investigating them, so they were following them around. One guy was making out with his girlfriend at the Dadeland Mall down here. It's this huge mall down in Miami, down south Miami. Huge mall down there. And there's a 5-month-old infant that was unconscious, like unresponsive. Paramedics are rushing there. This guy calls in that he's en route to the call, and there's video. IA's got video of him making out with his girlfriend at the mall, leaning on the car. Real nice. Real nice. But those are the guys that are better than the rest of us, and they should have guns and we shouldn't. Really? Really?
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Why do you never hear of a gun store being robbed during business hours?
Because it'd be the end of it. How come you never see a gun show being robbed? How come there's never a mass shooting at a gun show? Because that would end real quick. Like 2 people would get shot, and then that guy would get taken out, whether it be by firearms or all the it would probably be by all the swords and hatchets and everything else that's there.
For you people who are not aware of what goes on in a gun store, every employee is carrying. Why do you think gun stores never get robbed during business hours? Because they're all armed.
I've seen a couple cases where some idiot tried robbing a gun store because I guess he didn't realize that gun stores usually, the guys that work in gun shops, most gun shops, it's like a rule. You have to have your gun, on your hip showing, walking around inside the store. And which they can do because it's their place of business, so they're allowed to do that. And I've seen there's only 1 or 2 cases I know of where somebody tried robbing a gun store and it didn't work out very well for the idiot that tried.
Nope.
No, it ended very fast and in a very negative way for the guy that tried. Like, never works. You know what I'm saying? Same thing like I said at a gun show. You'll never see a mass shooting at a gun show. If you do, I guarantee you it was staged. Not saying it didn't happen, but guarantee you there had to be more than one shooter and they're walking around like fully automatic weapons because there's no way some moron putz like these guys they try to blame things on, these patsies, there's no way one of these guys is going to walk into a gun show with a semi-automatic rifle, load that thing up, and just start having at it. He'll get 2 shots off, and somebody will come up with a hatchet off of a table or an axe or something, and it'll be over. I'm telling you, there wouldn't even be anybody firing back at him. Because most of the guns actually, ironically, in a gun show are unloaded. That's why when you had this massive, there was 2 or 3 shootings over one weekend at a bunch of different gun shows, and the news was, oh my God, there's shootings at gun shows. See? Yeah, okay. Those were cases where, one idiot brings his shotgun in there to sell his shotgun, and while they were checking it at the front desk, it discharges. Now, that doesn't sound like it was a staged event. That just sounds like it's some moron who had the shotgun in there loaded in his closet, probably from the last time he went shooting or hunting with it, and he hasn't shot. Probably, I would say, target shooting because if a hunter wouldn't just sell his gun. So I'm assuming the guy would just. This is what I got from it. The guy had it in his closet, didn't realize it was loaded. They got there, and obviously the guy's not too gun proficient because he's selling it and he didn't bother to check it. And then they're taking it out of the bag and it discharges. Okay, that kind of stuff happens, but and that's a stupid accident. But you rarely ever. Most people inside the gun show aren't armed. That's why when you walk up with a gun at the front, they check it. They have cops there with guns, and then they put zip ties through your gun. So if you got that, I mean, you'd have to like smuggle it in and, you know, the gun and the ammo, and then you have to cut the zip tie off and go in the corner, and somebody would see you doing that. And I'm sure there are people in there, maybe some of the vendors might have their guns loaded. I mean, I know some vendors do. Maybe there's some undercover cops inside or whatever that might have their guns loaded. But you never see some lone nut killer want to take things out on people at a gun show. Nope. I usually see it occur in schools or movie theaters that have become gun-free zones. I don't know how many times I have to repeat that. When the only people are armed, that are armed in the vicinity of a shooting are the bad guy, it doesn't turn out well for everybody else. When everybody else is armed, things usually turn out much differently. I mean, Clackamas Town Mall. Look at the case with that. One of the ones I like to talk about is that old guy with the .357 that hit that dude with the AR at 165 yards down in Texas.
Yeah, saved a cop's life.
Yeah, I'll bet you that cop's glad he had a gun.
Yeah, and you know these are things that are never brought out by the mainstream media. They're never brought out by Congress. It's always they want to demonize.
It doesn't fit the narrative, Ken.
Well, yeah, it goes against their philosophy of control the American people. Now, right now, Popeye, I just want to bring this up for 1 second. You have some listeners, because I just checked, you have a couple of listeners from China. And I want to let them know that Monkey Boy is doing just fine.
To understand what Ken's talking about, you have to make sure to tune in to Ken's broadcast this Sunday, because Ken gave me a sneak peek, and I think it's funny, man. You want to talk about no respect.
So I just want them to know that Monkey Boy is doing just fine. He won't be around too long.
Yes, so. Tune in Sunday to find out who the Chinese call Monkey Boy. I bet you it'll actually surprise some people.
Oh, it probably will.
I don't even want to get into it. I'll get too sidetracked. I'll say this. Beware of how many Chinese investors are buying up properties in the United States right now. And I'm talking like large chunks. Do you know China actually is buying, was it in Utah, Joe? I think it's Utah, right?
Idaho.
Idaho. They're buying up a huge chunk of land out there, and it's going to be considered like Chinese territory.
Yeah.
What? What? Huh? What? How'd you say what? Huh?
Why? Well, think about this, though, dude. We have U.S. territory all over the freaking world with all our foreign bases and everything like that. Could you imagine if Hugo Chavez, he gets all better, he shakes off the cancer bug, and comes back and he says, I'm going to buy 100,000 acres of coastline, and I'm going to have a Venezuelan naval base in California. How's that going to go over?
Like in an elevator full of midgets.
Right. Yeah, but we could do it everywhere else in the world.
He'd be labeled a dictator, terrorist, bad guy that we have to bomb, kill, rape, pillage his whole country and everything else. But then if you pose the question, well, we do it, people go, no, we don't.
Yes, but we're trying to spread peace and democracy throughout the world. Well, we're civilized.
Either you're a liar and a conspiracy theorist for even bringing that up, or if they know it, then, like you just said, we're spreading democracy at the barrel of a gun and a bomb.
I think they can do with their democracy.
Yeah, me too. I'm right there with you, Ken.
Well, I mean, come on, dude. You don't spread freedom from a cluster bomb. Let's be honest.
No, and let's be honest too. Hitler, in his wildest dreams, couldn't kill as many people as we have. I mean, think about all the people that have been massacred in all of these police actions and unconstitutional wars and covert actions by the United States to advance the agenda.
Wait a minute, Joe. Wait. Are you trying to feed me some hard truth?
Yes, I am. Fact is that the Holocaust can't shake a stick. We've had a Holocaust ever since the end of World War II, even before that. Only it's state-sanctioned Holocaust. I mean, think about it, guys.
I like when I like when they chastise the Nazis for throwing people into camps, and I'm like,
yeah,
the Japanese, German, American citizens, and even some Italians.
No, let's not forget the NDAA and being able to throw people into.
That's a conspiracy theory, though. Now I know
it's in writing.
I know. Look, I know it's history that they threw people in camps already, in prison camps, but the government would never do that again, Joe. They learned their lesson. They love us now.
See, we come from a much more civilized society. That's what I hear all the time. We're too civilized for that. Hell, man, if this is civilized, ooh, we're screwed, dude. We are absolutely screwed.
Well, when it happens here, it's horrible, like Sandy Hook. When it happens over there, it's policy.
I like how you put that. When it's here, and when people are gonna to understand what Ken means. If we get kids killed here in America, it's a travesty. You have to have people's rights taken away. Everybody's screaming and yelling. But when we do it in someone else's country, and we blow their kids up into little tiny pieces, it's okay because that's foreign policy. That's how we roll because we're USA. 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 Makes me want to puke. Makes me want to puke. This stupid chant. Blech. I swear. That when people just blindly get into that USA thing, it almost makes me. It reminds me of how people bought into Hitler and even people that backed Stalin without even thinking. Guys, we got a break sneaking up on us. Ladies and gentlemen, don't go anywhere. We'll be back in a few minutes with the final segment of tonight's broadcast. Wow, that went fast. Don't go anywhere. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Final segment. Don't forget to stay tuned because my buddy Ryan Brooks is coming up afterwards, after we get off air. Monday through Friday when I get off air or when I'm live or when my rebroads go off at midnight, from midnight to actually now 3. It used to be 2, but now starting next week, Monday, it's going to be 3 a.m. So for 3 hours it's actually Tuesday through Saturday morning if you want to get technical. But for those that are listening over from my broadcast or Joe's broadcast, if you listen to us Monday through Friday, stay tuned after we get off because you got another 3 hours with Ryan Brooks and the Sound of Freedom. He does an excellent broadcast. Ryan's a great guy, Afghan war vet, very awake individual, and he knows his stuff. So tune in. Now, there's one thing else, two things actually I want to plug. One was what I was talking about a little bit earlier today in the first hour. But before I plug some of the upcoming interviews that I have for you all, I want to plug a truther, or whatever you want to call, young radio host, we'll say. Her name's Natalie Marie-Hart. She does a radio show called Crystal Light Kids Radio. She's out of Canada. And I got to tell you what, this girl, she's 12 years old. She's got to be one of the smartest kids I've ever had the pleasure of having a conversation with, and I've only gotten a chance to chat with her via Facebook right now, but she's going to be interviewing me for her radio broadcast.
So what you're saying is she didn't play with Mr. Dress-Up?
No. Very fun.
Okay. Very good.
No, she's actually she was homeschooled. She's very professional.
That's what I'm saying. That's the best. Hey, I'll tell you what.
Dude, this kid is I'm so impressed, Joe, to be quite honest.
Brilliant. I'm telling you, they blow you away, don't they?
Dude, I was not. First of all, she first contacted me and asked me if she could interview me. I was like, kid contacting me, like, is this a setup? So I looked into it and I was like, oh wow, she's a real deal. She does a radio show, okay. And I checked her website out, and she interviewed Jim Mars, and I was like, no way, because I interviewed Jim. So I was like, I got to hear this interview. So I listened to her whole interview with him. Dude, she blew me away. For a 12-year-old kid, she's talking about the Kennedy assassination, everything. And she knows facts. I was like, this kid's 12? When I was 12, I was playing with G.I. Joe figures. I mean, I've read and stuff, but like, wow, she's her own video editor, all this stuff. So she's interviewing me next week. But I wanted to give her a plug because, I mean, dude, she's her own producer, video editor. She books all of her own guests. I'm just blown away. 12-year-old kid, and she was talking to me very professionally, and I was just very like, wow, just didn't even talk like a 12-year-old kid. And I said to her, you handle yourself very professionally. I'm very impressed. You do a very good job. And she said, well, it probably has something to do with the fact that I'm homeschooled. And I was like, wow, she's homeschooled. Just there's a perfect example. So if you're looking into homeschooling your kids, Joe, where's the best place actually that they can get some information if people want to transition their kids out of?
Oh, there's so much out there. I mean, there's no one place that you can really go to. The biggest thing to do, first of all, is just understand what your state laws are and everything like that. You have to understand what those are first before you really dive into it. And then once you make the decision, I mean, the hardest thing about the whole thing is just how much time it takes. It takes a lot of time. But you have to ask yourself, everybody that has their kids in public school right now, is how many hours a night do your kids come home with homework? Or how many things do you end up having to teach them anyway because they don't spend the time teaching them in school because they're worried about taking these tests to state the No Child Left Behind laws and everything like that? You have to see that, you're not really putting that much more time into it. The only thing that you have to do is you actually have to relearn everything that you're teaching your kids. That's the hardest part of it all.
Well, whoever taught this kid, her parents are doing a hell of a job. I'm going to.
Oh yeah,
they know they are. I got to give kudos. I got to stand up and give her parents like a standing ovation virtually over the internet. Here. I'm not being a smartass when I say that. You guys did a hell of a job. Just from, if you hear this broadcast, I'm sure if she hears it, hopefully she'll cut it out and play it for them because they should hear it. She deserves some praise. I mean, she's an amazing kid. So I'm actually looking forward to my interview with her because
sounds cool, man.
I was blown away, dude. I really was. So, and I want to get on to I'll get your opinion. I want to pick your brains actually on the younger generation in a second, guys. But the other thing I want to throw out before we forget is starting next week, Monday, I have Lena Sanek coming on. Sunday, Cutting Through the BS with Johnny English, episode number 4 is going to be coming up. And then Wednesday and Friday, I think I still have open. I haven't figured out what I'm going to air yet because I have all the interviews I want to air for you guys. So during the week, I'll figure out who I'm going to air what. But I got Rick Simpson, Charlotte Iserby, Garen Angel. He's the owner of MagicalButter.com. I just interviewed Professor Tracy, Doug Rocky, and I know I'm forgetting. Oh, and Ben Stewart from the filmmaker who did Kymatica, Esoteric Agenda, and Ungrip. So, but like each of the interviews, I think the shortest one is with Doug Rocky, and it's like an hour and 10 minutes. Everything is like an hour and 20, you know what I mean? 2, 3. Rick Simpson, it's 4 hours. So I have to figure out how I'm going to air that thing once I get it up. So over the next like 2 weeks, I'm going to be airing all those interviews and stuff. So everybody just please be patient and stay tuned because the next few weeks on Down the Rabbit Hole are going to be awesome. Okay, I want to get into the future of the country here. And I say that because this is segueing off what I was talking about with Natalie and her show. Again, it's called Crystal Light Kids Radio, ladies and gentlemen. You can find her on Facebook, Twitter. She's got YouTube, I think, and regular website. Check her out. And if you have kids, actually, I urge you to let your kids listen to her because it might be easier for them, especially if they're around that age range, maybe to accept something coming from one of their peers than from their parents. Just saying. It's worth giving it a shot. You never know. So check it out. Anyway, future of the country, guys. Ken, you're 60, and Joe and I are in our late 30s. So I know. Well, we'll plan on you still being around because 60 is young, so you could live to be like 90 or 100. So you still got another 30 years around. So when we're around 60 and you're in your late 80s, the kids, the younger generations now are going to be the ones that are going to be coming into those slots and positions of power. I see some hope. I used to think that we were completely screwed and that I wasn't sure if I could find the silver lining. And this was a long time ago. But besides, the urge and the push to not be negative and not give up, when I see little kids and I see 12, 13-year-olds, Joe, you had some kid on that was amazing, knew about the Constitution and all this.
Yeah, my friend Dan. Yeah, he's going to be back on here soon, and then of course I teach homeschool co-op and I'll tell you what, the Constitution class I teach, the kids they're right there and they're eating it up.
Well, dude, just honestly, it gives me hope. But and when people say, "Oh, I don't know, their youth of today are stupid," and I go, "No, look, you're right. There are a lot of dumb kids out there. I've seen it, but there are some good kids out there that deserve recognition."
And let's not forget, dude. It took about 100 years or so to get into the place we're at. It's not going to change tomorrow. It's a slow process to re-inform and re-educate people, and the only way you do that is by really taking control of the education of your child, and making sure that they're learning the stuff that they need to know, not the filler that they put in public school systems. You don't remember 90% of the crap you learned. I don't. Minus the base. I came away with the basics: reading.
Dude,
writing,
can I be honest with you? Can I be quite honest with you?
Yeah,
I don't remember anything that they taught me. I mean, basic math, right?
Yes, it's life experience that teaches you.
One step above counting on my fingers is about what I remember out of all the years I wasted in school. I learned more educating myself and reading things on my own than I did. In fact, when I graduated my senior year, I didn't even graduate. Well, I mean, I got my diploma from my town and from my high school, but I spent my senior year in school for kids that got in fights. And we had the metal detector on the front door. But the cool part about the school was I was allowed to pick my curriculum. And because I picked my curriculum, and it wasn't like I didn't pick retarded classes. Like I wasn't in general math. I was picking college-level courses. The problem with high school was they wouldn't let me advance.
You were in one of those schools there. They're teaching the geometry of a license plate.
Yeah, no. No, that was the bottom half. That was the school for all the drug offenders. That was on the lower floor. All the kids that had fights and stuff and weapons charges and stuff went up to the upper floors. They were trying to still, if they couldn't turn them around, then they got recycled down to the lower school. But it's actually two schools in one building. There used to be some epic fights, stabbings and stuff. Oh, it was really fun.
Yes.
Senior year was cool for
Popeye took license plate geometry and the science of laundry.
No. I took
math on a math scale.
License plate class was for the advanced students.
Yes, that's for the advanced ones.
No,
yes.
Luckily, it wasn't that bad. No, but because I was able to pick my curriculum, I actually enjoyed what I did, and I actually excelled and advanced.
You have to wonder, Ken, that if he wasn't a midget, if his behavior would have been better, I bet you he'd be in the National Honor Society if he was just of average height.
Can I be quite honest with you? When I graduated my senior year, I was on the honor roll, so eat it. Dude, I'm telling you, what my principal said to me when I graduated? He handed me my diploma.
You have the right to remain silent.
And that was as I was walking off the field. No, the principal said to me, he shook my hand. He said, "Congratulations, you beat the system."
Oh, there you go. Look at you.
He was retiring, so he didn't care.
He probably said, "Oh, come on, principal. I bet you say that to all the the students here."
Yeah, dude, my case was interesting, to say the least. My poor mother, that's all I'll say. But hey, you know what? I was homeschooled for a year, and I can honestly tell you, I got more out of my homeschooling from my homeschool teacher than I ever did when I was at school. I actually used to enjoy to do, I never did homework ever when I was in school at all. You're lucky if I did it. I used to make paper airplanes out of it, light it on fire. It just did not enjoy doing homework. I thought it was dumb. Well, when I had my homeschool teacher, she used to give me assignments, and it wasn't like regular stuff. She used to give me cool stuff like history. I loved history, so she used to let me dive into history as long as I did something. If I did a report, it had to be detailed. It had to be well written or whatever. And you know what? I got more out of my year of homeschooling than I did being put in school for fights and metal detectors and stabbings and all that crap, or anything else any other place they could try to stick me. The only reason why I had to go there, honestly, was because my mother lost her job that year, and I went to the guidance counselor and I said to him, "Look, what do I do? I got to get a job at night, but I'm going to be late for school in the morning because my mom lost her job and she needs me to help, pay some bills and stuff. And I got to take care of some stuff. I got to step up to the plate. And my guidance counselor looked me square in the eye and goes, "You should drop out of high school." I kid you not. That was my guidance. You should drop out. Yeah, that's exactly right, Sling Blade. I mean, what the hell kind of guidance is that for a kid, dude? So what I did was I looked up alternative schools that I could get into if I dropped out, that I would be able to finish and get my diploma and still be able to go have a job and work at night. I didn't have to be at school till 9:45 in the morning, so I could work the midnight shift and still go home, catch a couple hours of Z's, get up and go to school. And then we had smoke breaks every 45 minutes, so it was the perfect school for me. But I had to do all that through the school system. I had to finagle my way through the school system to be able to graduate and get a diploma. Can you imagine how many kids that don't know how to play the system, and how many kids get flushed out of the schools that shouldn't be, that could actually learn? You know what I mean? So that the learning system is not set up anymore to teach kids. Charlotte Iserby's talked about it. They just pump out little workers now, little drone bees.
Well, you talk about looking at the situation that this country is in, and I'll tell you, I'm seeing a lot of very new people getting into politics, very young people, well, young to me, about your age, and I'm starting to get a glimmer of hope because of the fact that a lot of these people talk almost incessantly about the Constitution and what it means and what's going on. And it gives you a little hope that this country isn't done for yet. It's just a matter of, can we hold on long enough? But other than that, and when these other while the rest of these kids are all out there getting all flustered over Beyonce and Justin Bieber and the rest of them, there are a lot of young kids out there that are learning the Constitution, and they're going to do a heck of a job when they get old enough to run for office. And some of them will start. If they don't get their minds all bent and twisted by the system, they ought to do a heck of a job. Let me put it that way.
Yes, sir.
Yep, see, thank you, Sling Blade. See, I got to say, Ken, I see hope. I mean, I know I like to say, to try to keep people motivated. I like to say, look, if I have to be you've heard me say it on air before and even off air, if I got to be the friggin' lighthouse standing up on the rock myself and, to make sure everybody realizes that there's at least one light and I won't give up until we're all friggin' dead. When I see kids like this, that gives me hope. That gives me the drive to stand up there and stay the course, because I know that they get it. And there's more of them. And these kids are going to help wake up their generation, and that is totally awesome. To go back to the 80s, early 90s,
All right, Dan.
You're freaking jealous. Well, wouldn't you say the same thing? Like, look, you have a son who's 16 or 17, around that age now, and he's a really smart kid, dude. I mean, he's
nuts. He's crazy like me and his mother.
But he's got a good head on his shoulders.
Oh, absolutely. No,
and he's aware of what's going on. So, I mean,
dude, I could not be any happier with how he turned out, in all honesty.
But you did a good job as a parent. You see my point? That's the future of this country, dude. You know what I mean?
It's just being plugged in. That's all it is. I mean, and really, there's not much. It's not that hard. It's just, you just got to think of your kids rather than yourself more often. That's really all it is too. It is, and the other thing too is you have to understand that by doing this, you're really helping the battle or advance the battle against these forces that want to take our rights away and everything else, and put us into this slave state. So it's only in your best interest, because there's going to come a point in time when you're not going to be able to fight anymore, and they're going to have to pick up the fight for you. That's it's now or never. I hate to say it. We're kind of at the precipice here.
Well, the future generations right now, mainly, Ken brought up something really good. They focus on Bieber and all this other crap. There's just garbage. and mindless, brainless fluff. And you know, a lot of people, if you realize that that's the future, a lot of people get, oh God, you know, we're effed. But no, you know, I see a lot of good kids out there too, and often we talk about negative stuff, and we did talk about a lot of negative stuff tonight. Even if we did it in kind of a somewhat of a lighthearted fashion at times here or there, it's still. You know, we always talk about negative stuff. That's why the last segment here, I wanted to focus on something positive. And when I see these young kids stepping up to the plate, and I mean, when I was 12 years old, okay, I never would have thought to call up Jim Mars and interview him, okay? And she's interviewed a bunch of other people too. But just the fact that she called up, you know, I'm going to call Jim Mars. I want to talk to him. The fact that she reads his book and comprehends what's in the book, because his books are not written for the average 12-year-old to read. I mean, if you're a smart 12-year-old, maybe from like in the 50s or the 40s, you'd be able to comprehend it. But today's 12-year-old, average 12-year-old child couldn't comprehend what's in that book. And yet this kid not only comprehends it, but is smart enough to take questions and then hunt the guy down for an interview. Okay, that gives me hope. That shows me that we're doing the right thing, Joe. So that way when we're in our 70s or 80s and we say, okay, enough is enough, we want to take a step back, there will be people out there that are so well versed in it that they will, they'll be able to pick up the mantle. That gives me a lot of hope.
Well, it should. I mean, it's as long as we continue to educate and inform people, the tide will turn, but it's going to take time. The thing is, we're kind of in a race against time because these nefarious imps, if you will, have really brought us to some really bad, really bad state of things. Now, it could all go away tomorrow if we wanted to. If we had the drive and the wherewithal to actually make some effective change. I mean, we could change stuff tomorrow. It's just that you got to get the public support behind it because the people in Congress, they're bought and paid for by these people. They're putting an office on the money, on the backs of these people. So you're not going to get change from them. So it's it's really got to come from us. The only way you do that is to get people informed, get out there, and get active.
Well said. Ken, final thoughts? We got about a little less than a minute.
Well, the problem being here with the young people that are coming up, I'm just hoping they don't get caught in the culture of corruption in politics. Because people throw a lot of money at our politicians to get their own way, and they'll screw the American people any which way they can. But if they stay the course, they hang in there as constitutionalists. They live and breathe the Constitution. Put that before Congress. Eventually, we'll get enough of them in there that we can turn this country around. A lot of people, you hear them talking about, armed insurrection. It's not. That's a last resort. That's a totally last resort, and take it from somebody who's seen it. You don't want it here. But think of this. 30,000 drones in the air, over 2 billion rounds of ammunition being bought. Don't think the government's waiting to invite you to a picnic. Just think about that. And I'll see everybody on Sunday.
Well, thank you, boys, for your time. I appreciate it. Joe?
Yes.
I know you did a show tonight, so thank you for the 2 hours of overdrive, brother. And
no sweat, man.
Ken, thank you. Appreciate it as always. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been an honor for the three of us. We'll catch you all on Sunday because all three of us will be live on Sunday. So just tune in just start tuning in Sunday morning and stay there. We'll see you then. We're out.